American Pickers fans recently saw the tragic loss of Frank Fritz this past September. Since then, his friends have planned a memorial in his honor. However, news has come out that Fritz's friends will pay tribute to him in a surprising way. Frank Fritz first came to prominence on history's American Pickers. Appearing as early as the first episode, Fritz and co-host Mike Wolfe traveled around the United States looking for antiques, all in the search of treasure. Just as Wolfe was known for his business, antique archaeology, Fritz was also known for his own shop, Frank Fritz Finds, in which he would sell acquisitions. Fritz stopped appearing on the show around 2021. Tragically, he passed away on September 30, 2024, at the age of 60. This happened 2 years after he suffered a stroke. Planned a memorial in honor of the late American Pickers star. Some of the details of what has been planned have since come out. Reportedly, Fritz's friends will have someone impersonate Fritz in a skit during the proceedings. Reportedly, the impersonator will pretend to be standing in a jail cell, with a skit inspired by the Popeye cartoon character. Jerry Gendreau, a friend of Fritz's and owner of his store, Frank Fritz Finds, will even use a 1960s jail cell for the skit. Gendreau explained, "I need someone to play Frank of that stature. We're going to put Frank's head on top. I got our friend, who we call Popeye, in there. They're going to be in the jail cell. We have olive oil outside the jail cell with a big cartoon caption, 'I told you boys to be good.'" Frank would laugh. He added that the dedication will showcase what his life really was. Gendreau also shared some details on what the dedication will look like. He shared, "We're having multiple bands that weekend. These were bands that Frank knew and loved. Chris Davis, who was Frank's guardianship during a conservatorship, is also set to play with his band to honor Fritz. In addition, Jerry plans on opening a bar called Man Cave. The place will be dedicated to Fritz. It will feature a theater in the back that will run clips of Fritz. His personal motorcycles and photographs will also be on display." Gendreau added, "The theater will all could showcase him in a very good light." Some of the comedic things he has said. "It's going to be a movie gallery. It'll show clips of Frank. The motorcycles he bought. Some of the motorcycles there were Frank's at one point. I bought a motorcycle and sign from Frank probably 10 to 12 years ago when they were first doing the show. It was on the show when he bought that. All of our lives are pretty short on the earth. His was cut real short. We're going to make that space dedicated to Frank. He'd like that. It will be there as long as I still own it." Gendreau also took note of what he missed the most about his late friend. As he shared, "I miss some of the dumb things he would do. He would come through the door and he was just fun. If you ever had a friend that when they left you had a smile on your face, then you know they're somebody you want to be around." Introduction. In the dusty corners of America's forgotten relics, where rusted metal meets peeling paint and history whispers through every creaking hinge, the spirit of Frank Fritz still lingers. His infectious laughter, eccentric personality, and unwavering passion for uncovering America's hidden treasures left an indelible mark on friends, fans, and fellow pickers alike. Following Frank's passing, Mike Wolfe and Danielle Colby, two of his closest friends, decided to honor his memory in a way that was as unconventional and heartfelt as Frank himself. What began as a simple memorial evolved into a bizarre, whimsical plan, one that would blend nostalgia, community, and a touch of Frank's signature eccentricity into an unforgettable event. This is the story of their journey, the planning, the eccentric ideas, the community's involvement, and the bizarre tribute that paid homage to their beloved friend. Chapter 1. The Spark of Inspiration. It was a chilly autumn morning when Mike Wolfe sat in his cluttered workshop, surrounded by vintage signs, motorcycle parts, and boxes of memorabilia. The news of Frank Fritz's passing had hit him hard. Frank was more than a friend, he was family, a fellow picker whose zest for life and unrelenting curiosity inspired countless adventures. Mike looked around, memories flooding in, late-night pickups, roadside discoveries, the laughter echoing through their pickups. He knew he had to do something special, something that would encapsulate Frank's eccentric spirit. He reached out to Danielle Colby, who was busy cataloging a collection of vintage jewelry. Her eyes welled with tears when she heard the news. Together, they brainstormed, tossing around ideas, some heartfelt, some wild, Suddenly, Danielle blurted out, "What if we do something totally bizarre? Like a tribute that's as crazy as Frank was." Mike chuckled. "Bizarre. That's Frank's style. Let's do it." They agreed. A memorial that would be fun, unconventional, and rooted in the very essence of Frank's personality, a celebration of his life through the lens of the shared love for weird, wonderful Americana. Chapter 2. The bizarre plan takes shape. The idea was born. A Frank Fritz Memorial Bazaar Pick, a sprawling scavenger hunt and festival held at the old fairgrounds in their hometown of LeClaire, Iowa. It would feature oddball attractions, vintage vendors, live music, and a series of bizarre challenges inspired by Frank's favorite things. The core concept: create an interactive event where participants could uncover strange relics, solve quirky puzzles, and honor Frank's memory through acts of eccentricity. Mike and Danielle enlisted the help of their community, local collectors, vintage shops, and even Frank's friends from the Pickers world. They wanted the event to be as weird and wonderful as Frank himself. Key elements of the plan: the Rust and Rattle treasure hunt. Participants would follow clues hidden in vintage items, leading them to secret locations around town where relics of Americana, old motorcycles, vintage signs, antique tools, were buried or displayed. Frank's Oddities exhibit, a pop-up museum featuring Frank's favorite oddball collectibles, melted license plates, vintage prosthetics, quirky signage, and other bizarre artifacts. The Bizarre Challenge stations, stations where contestants had to perform strange tasks, like balancing antique radios on their heads, sorting through a box of rusted trinkets blindfolded, or mimicking Frank's signature laugh to win prizes. The Frank Fritz Look-alike contest. Participants would dress up as Frank, complete with his signature baseball cap, mustache, and eccentric attire, competing for the title of the ultimate Frank. A vintage car parade, classic vehicles decorated with eccentric themes, think mismatched paint, quirky ornaments, driven through town, paying homage to America's automotive history and Frank's love of cars. The Bizarre Memorial Ceremony, at sunset, a bonfire where friends and community members shared stories, played Frank's favorite music, and released balloons shaped like vintage objects. Chapter 3. The Bizarre Preparations. As plans solidified, the team faced challenges: funding, permits, and sourcing the most eccentric relics imaginable. But the biggest hurdle was how to incorporate Frank's unique personality into the event without making it feel like a parody. They decided to honor Frank's love for the obscure by including Frank's favorite oddities station, an exhibit curated with items Frank himself would have loved, a rusty bicycle with a missing wheel, a vintage phonograph that played a scratchy tune, and a collection of mismatched license plates. They reached out to Frank's friends and fellow pickers, asking them to contribute stories, artifacts, and even participate in the look-alike contest. The response was overwhelming, people eager to celebrate Frank's life in their own eccentric ways. Meanwhile, Danielle spearheaded the creation of a life-sized cardboard cutout of Frank, which would serve as the centerpiece of the memorial. They also commissioned local artists to paint murals depicting Frank's adventures, capturing his quirky essence. Chapter 4. The Day of the Bizarre Memorial. Finally, the day arrived. The sun shone brightly over LeClaire as the town's residents and visitors gathered at the fairgrounds. The air was thick with anticipation, excitement, and a hint of nostalgia. The vintage car parade kicked off the event, with cars decorated in mismatched colors, glittering streamers, and oddball ornaments, some shaped like musical instruments, others like vintage radios. The crowd cheered as the vehicles rolled by, a tribute to America's automotive ingenuity and Frank's love of all things mechanical. Next came the treasure hunt. Participants scoured the grounds, deciphering clues that took them from the old barn to the riverbank, each relic revealing a piece of Frank's life story. Some clues were deliberately goofy, like, find the sign that once advertised Frank's favorite soda, or, locate the motorcycle with the missing side mirror. The Oddities exhibit was a hit. People marveled at the strange collection of items, many donated by Frank's friends or unearthed during the event. Kids and adults alike giggled at the bizarre displays, marveling at the weirdness that defined Frank. At the challenge stations, participants balanced radios, mimicked Frank's laughter, and sorted through boxes of rusty relics. The crowd cheered each attempt, embracing the silliness. The highlight was the Frank Fritz Look-alike contest. Contestants donned hats, mustaches, and vintage clothes, trying to capture Frank's eccentric style. The winner was a young man who sported a mismatched shirt, a crooked baseball cap, and an infectious grin reminiscent of Frank's. As the sun set, everyone gathered around the bonfire. Stories were shared: Frank's ridiculous adventures, his quirkiest pickups, and his legendary sense of humor. Danielle played some of Frank's favorite music, and a local musician strummed a bluesy tune. Balloons shaped like vintage tools and signs floated into the sky as a final tribute. It was a bizarre, heartfelt celebration, an eccentric memorial befitting Frank Fritz. Chapter 5. The legacy continues. In the days that followed, the event became a local legend. People talked about the bizarre, joyful tribute that captured Frank's spirit perfectly. The community felt closer, bonded by shared memories and the quirky celebration. Mike and Danielle recognized that the event wasn't just about honoring Frank's past but about inspiring others to embrace their quirks, celebrate Americana's oddities, and remember that sometimes, the weirdest things are the most meaningful. They decided to make the memorial an annual tradition, each year, adding new bizarre challenges, relics, and stories. It became a living tribute, a testament to Frank Fritz's larger-than-life personality and his love for all things strange and wonderful. Epilogue. A lasting tribute. Months later, a documentary crew visited LeClaire to capture the story of the bizarre Frank Fritz Memorial. They interviewed locals, friends, and fans, showcasing the strange, heartfelt celebration that had grown from a simple idea into a community phenomenon. In the end, Frank's legacy was not just in the relics he loved or the treasures he uncovered but in the laughter, community, and eccentric spirit he inspired in everyone around him. As Danielle said during the final scene, Frank was the king of weird. And that's exactly how he'd want to be remembered, by celebrating the weird, the wonderful, and the truly American.